Hey everybody, thank you for making time for me at the end of the day. I'm Vaughan Shanks, for those who haven't met me, from Cydarm Technologies, and we're a software vendor and we make software for cybersecurity operations teams. But what I want to do is showcase how we are using the CACAO specification to implement playbooks in our platform, because I think our approach is different to some of the other ways that CACAO has been used in practice, and there might be something interesting in that for people. So first of all, just starting with how do we use CACAO playbooks? I think the way the CACAO spec has been arranged, it leaves a lot of latitude for how you actually implement that and how you go about building CACAO into a larger system or a system of systems. And really, the question I wanted to pose is, are we thinking about CACAO as orchestration, or is it actually a chance to implement a process assurance? And I'll get on to a bit about what I mean by process assurance in just a second. When we think about SOAR applications, and there were a bunch of those that came out in, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. We think a lot about orchestration and about process automation, being able to run through a series of steps with decision points, automating cyber response. The other way to think about it is process assurance. So this diagram here, this has been copied by me from a talk I went to by a Gartner analyst. I know there's a lot of people still using SOAR platforms. But SOAR had been in the trough of disillusionment for a year on the Gartner curve, and they declared it to be dead. Let's look though at this diagram. So what we have here is the Gartner analyst's representation of the cyber incident response problem. So starting with the domain area, so that's the cyber terrain you work in, moving down to your specific objectives. What are the assets you're looking to protect? What is the data that you're looking to safeguard? And then how are you going to go about doing that as a process? And then on down into the specific activities and the tasks that make those up. So we're getting right down into sort of task management theory at that point. And what the traditional SOAR platforms have done is come in at this problem at the process level. So saying, how can we automate an entire process end to end? And I'd put it to you that there is such variation in the attacks, and they're constantly cyber attacks. Attackers are very innovative. They're changing their tactics all the time. And then on the response side, very often you can't automate, a conversation with your legal team. You can't automate the risk people of what they need to know. So there are parts of this process that do require human collaboration, that require judgment, and that require, people to apply intuition. And I think that's the part that we can't. You can't put enough boxes, decisions and actions on a huge SOAR playbook to handle every possible that can happen. So preserving that collaboration, preserving human agency is critical. There's still an opportunity, though, to automate at that activity and task level for deterministic, repeatable things that are really not well suited to humans anyway. So we started out with using CACAO, thinking this is a great spec for playbooks. Why build our own when someone else has gone and defined an open source spec? Maybe one day it'll even be popular, and we can share and utilize other people's playbooks and share our playbooks with other people. We started out by building a simple orchestration engine that would run a CACAO playbook. Very quickly scrapped that approach and went for something different. And so what we've done instead, so our platform is based on the idea of case management. So if you can imagine, our first iteration, we had the CACAO orchestration engine sitting off to one side. And when you ran a playbook, the idea was that it would essentially send the playbook to the orchestrator would run the playbook and then come back when it was finished. That approach we found was very limited. It doesn't give you this opportunity to do this process assurance piece, which is where we are recording the steps of the playbook as they go and making sure that what we said we were going to do when we defined a process is being done. So what we've done at Cydarm is we've actually built the playbook into the case management system. And the way it works essentially is that we start with a playbook as just being a series of steps and decisions that could be executed by a SOC analyst. And you can interact with the playbook. You can add comments on the steps of the playbook. You can manually set the values of the output variables on a step, and those step variables get passed down into subsequent steps. And the idea being that at this point we have defined the processes that previously would have been in maybe a stale PDF file sitting in a share drive, or they're coded up on a Confluence page somewhere. We've actually added that right into the case management platform. The idea being that as you go through one of these very well-defined processes, the comments you're putting and the status changes that you're applying to that playbook are being captured on the case activity thread of that case. This is a screenshot of how we render those playbooks. And what we're moving towards is the ability to have a hybrid playbook. Again, of that slide, there was a few earlier with the concentric circles. We're saying this is the process layer. The process layer here is still human controlled. Any one of these activities could revert to machine control if it's something that we can automate. I realize I'm doing a lot of hand waving here. I'm not going to run a live demo, but there's a model in traditional AI called the Blackboard model, which is the thinking behind this, which is that you have this shared state. Any SOC analyst on the team can see this process diagram. They can see which steps are currently blocked. That's the ones in red. They can see which ones have been done, which are in green, and they can see which ones are in blue, which are ready. So when I look at that diagram, I see there's that box about halfway down on the left that's blue. I can immediately assign myself to that task and start working on it. But equally, if that task has a machine-compatible command in it, then an agent could also assign itself to that task and immediately seize control and start executing that step automatically. So this is how we can automate the repetitive tasks. We can automate the things that people are not good at or that are very deterministic in nature without losing control and having to have a large team of security engineers trying to build every possible automated feature for all of the different things that can happen. And so our vision at Cydarm is for this integrated CACAO playbook system to be part of case management. And the way we describe this to the organizations we engage with is we talk about it as shareable tradecraft. The idea being, and I don't think this is particularly novel in this community, the idea being that we not only give you CTI, so here is your sticks payload you can download from CISA, but also here is a hunt package. In other words, a playbook with instructions on how to conduct a hunt and a response that you can use, as per a previous gentleman speaking about, if you've had a utility company, a large utility company that's had an incident, they've found some indicators, they've gone and eradicated the threat and codified what they did along the way, they could then take that package and share that out with other utilities and say, if you're seeing this same activity on your systems, here is an approach that we know works to eradicate the threat. So what we're doing, we're getting process assurance. If you need to make attestations to some authority, you can show them you have a playbook, but not only do you have the playbook, you are following your playbook, but then you can automate parts of it. So you've got that accountability combined with speed, and you've got this collaboration, this synergy, if you will, between humans and machines, combining the expert intuition of a human with the consistency and speed of machine execution. Still, I didn't run over. That's all I had. Any questions?